So before we bring you international business stories, we just get into our next conversation that has to do with Ghana. And in recent developments, the Ghana Statistical Service has reported a significant decline in the export value of cocoa beans for the second quarter of 2024. And this downturn, which marks a 26.9% decrease from the previous year, is part of a troubling trend that has seen cocoa exports fall for 5 consecutive quarters now. Now, the challenges facing Ghana's cocoa industry are multifaceted, including production shortfalls, market dynamics, and issues related to smuggling. This morning, we will look at the implications of these trends on both local farmers and the broader cocoa markets. And I'm joined by Isaac Ajay from SBM Intelligence in Ghana to help us understand this better. Thank you so much for joining us, Isaac.
Great to be here.
So what are the potential macroeconomic impacts of the 26.9% decrease in cocoa export value on Ghana's overall economy, particularly regarding foreign exchange reserves and trade balance?
Well, this simply means that the Ghanaian economy will continue to struggle, and then our path to economic recovery will be a bit delayed. Because if you look at a commodity like cocoa, it has been the backbone of the Ghanaian economy since independence. In fact, even since before colonization, cocoa has been there for Ghana. I mean, and it's good that we get roughly around $3 to $4 billion every year to show up the budget. And so if you're having such a significant drop in the inflows and even the cocoa beans production, that tells you that the local currency, which is the cedi, will continue to struggle against major trading currencies like the dollar, the pound, and the euro. So in simple terms, this is bad news for the Ghanaian economy, and it means that our path to economic recovery will actually delay because of some of these significant drops we are seeing in key economic indicators and then also revenue handles like cocoa revenue.
And of course, between $3 and $4 billion is a lot of money for an economy like Ghana. So I'm wondering how the Ghanaian government will be reeling from these negative impacts when it considers its budgets and a revenue shortfall.
Come again with that question.
Yes, I'm asking about how this would affect Ghana in terms of I'm even looking at the Ghanaian government right now in terms of the revenue that should come to it as to how it is expected to actually fund its budget.
Well, I mean, cocoa, I mean, is very important to the Ghanaian budget every fiscal year. And if you look at the first 2 quarters, the data in terms of what government of Ghana is able to mobilize in terms of revenue, it was usually around $1.5 billion every, first and second quarter. Now we are talking about less than $800 million. So in fact, in less than a year or 2 years, cocoa revenues have actually dropped by more than $500 million. And so this is a big blow to the budget. And in terms of expenditure and revenue aspects, remember that we are currently Ghana is currently under an IMF program, and revenue mobilization is very, very key. And it was hoping that certain revenue items and handles like cocoa, oil, and even gold will crystallize so that we can have a very good economic recovery. But looking at the drops we are seeing, such a huge drop will really affect government budget, especially for the next year. Next month, we actually entering into October, and November is when government of Ghana reads its annual budget. And if you look at these figures, it's a bit troubling for the government in terms of where they'll find money to do some of the expenses that they're hoping to do in terms of resuming their debt obligation in 2025 and 2026. Now we are enjoying some form of moratorium, and when we resume, we will need we will need foreign exchange to pay this debt. And that takes about 30% of our annual revenue every year. And so if cocoa is not really bringing in the money that's supposed to bring, then that's a big problem for government going ahead.
A big one there. So let's now look at agricultural practices and probably environmental factors that are also contributing to the production shortfall of cocoa beans in Ghana, resulting in about 429,323 million tons of production, as we've seen in June, compared to what a lot of people expected would have been more than that. Let's get your perspective on those.
Well, even before that, we should know that Ghana was producing in the millions, and they always lump us with together with Ivory Coast and say we contribute about 60% of the world's cocoa production. But in fact, if you do the disaggregation, you realize that Ghana's component is just about 14%. So we can't even compare Ghana to Ivory Coast no more. Whilst Ivory Coast is still producing in the millions, Ghana has dropped below 500,000. And in terms of the factors, one that is common to both Ghana, Ivory Coast, and other cocoa producing countries is the diseases, the black pod disease, and other weather conditions that are not favoring the cocoa producing countries. But one thing that is peculiar to Ghana, and I always say this on Business Edge, is illegal mining. We've done the math, if you look at the data that the Cocoa Board put out, and you could see that illegal mining has taken away more than 19,000 hectares of cocoa farms. More than 19 hectares of cocoa farms have been destroyed by illegal mining. Now, let me bring this home. This is about close to 36,000 football fields. 36,000 football fields of cocoa farms that have been destroyed by illegal mining. So you ask yourself, if illegal miners or galamseyers are actually destroying cocoa farms and we are not getting the beans, it goes beyond smuggling and it goes beyond the black pod and the weather diseases. Illegal mining is one big problem here in Ghana that is really affecting the cocoa industry, and that is why we are producing less than our usual mark. And even in the next coming seasons, investors and trading houses are not so confident in Ghana. That's why we are struggling to get a cocoa syndicated loan, and Cocoa Board has decided to do the self-financing from the domestic space. So it's a big issue for Ghana, looking at this from the illegal mining aspect. The fact that it's destroying water bodies and also destroying the cash crop such as cocoa.
Yeah, one would have thought that the government would have come up with legislation to actually deal with the issue around illegal mining, knowing that it has a negative impact on the industry. And of course, one would have also thought that the government would have also invested in probably research works to deal with the diseases that are actually ravaging the produce in that line. And also probably securing investments from probably local and international partners. So does that show a little bit of a lackadaisical attitude on part of governments being proactive when it comes to dealing with these issues?
Well, government is fiscally tight at the moment, and that's why we're under an IMF program. The World Bank and other agencies are supposed to help us in the fight against illegal mining and also helping to revamp the cocoa industry, especially when it comes to the disease aspect. They've given us some monies to start with, but the government itself is cash-strapped and they are not able to do or make any form of significant investment. If you look at the IMF program, for instance, the Cocoa Board, which is the body responsible for all cocoa affairs in Ghana, is actually precluded from giving any form of fertilizer assistance, like subsidizing fertilizer to that level that farmers used to enjoy. And because of the current fiscal position of Cocoa Board, the subsidy that they used to give is no longer the same. Feeder rows to cocoa farms, Cocoa Board is no longer taking such contracts, and that's a big problem for government at the moment. On the side of illegal mining, it has become a political issue. Why do I say that? The illegal mining areas or constituencies are very significant when it comes to voting. And this is an election year for government. And the current government is finding it so difficult to fight illegal mining because of the threat that this will cause them politically or in terms of votes in the upcoming election. And that has been difficult for Ghana. So you see the government not actually doing anything about illegal mining because of its attachment to political capital, and the fact that even the opposition is also capitalizing on this campaign against the government, that it has failed to tackle the issue of illegal mining. And the government is also afraid that when they go into fight, like they did in 2019 and 2018, that they almost lost in the 2020 election, they do not want to take such chances. And that is really, really affecting that side of illegal mining, why government is really struggling to tackle it. So the
Ghanaian government would prefer to sacrifice a cocoa industry that actually churns in billions of dollars for its political career or political plan or ambition? Is that what this means? Because if you're talking about a political party compared to what the economy is needing, they begin to wonder what the priorities are in this conversation.
Well, it's interesting how African leaders can actually do anything for power. So this, for me, is not, it doesn't come to me as a surprise. Same thing happened in 2013 when the then Mahama administration fought against illegal mining. They lost the election in the 2016. And when this current government came in 2016, they also started fighting illegal mining, and they almost lost in 2020. And so whilst you have the current government maybe trying their best to possibly fight illegal mining, you also have on the other side, the opposition government saying that all those who have been convicted because of illegal mining one way or the other, and when they come, they look through and then they feel that you are innocent and they are going to give them amnesty. So it makes the fight against illegal mining very, very difficult because the government knows that if you touch those areas, you don't just lose the presidential elections, but you lose a lot of seats in parliament. So it's interesting how government is sacrificing what we could get from from cocoa, and then also the fact that our water bodies are at stake, but what they care about currently is the election, which is about 2 months or 3 months away.
But again, you still need money to fund elections, but then that's just what it is. Now, what are the implications of the 4-year supply deficit in the global cocoa markets for Ghana's export? Because we know that there's this international demand for cocoa. You've talked about how huge in terms of production Ghana contributes to the global markets. But then, I mean, what implications would that have?
So the first implication what we spoke about is the fact that the cedi will struggle. And when the cedi struggle against the dollar, that means that whatever we do in the economic space wouldn't really hold water because we need the exchange rate to be stable. And the fact that because of what is going on, the cocoa board is not able to get the needed cocoa beans to get the assurances from investors and get the usual $1.5 to $3 billion that they always get from the cocoa syndicated loan. Now we are not getting that money. It means that we have to do what they call the spot sales. And with the spot sales, it could be good for government, but it depends on how the whole cocoa industry or the rallying of the prices also go in the global space. And so if you ask me what will be the immediate effect is the fact that this year, for instance, in the last quarter of 2024, government is expecting some $2.5 billion in terms of forex to show up the local currency. And cocoa, it was supposed to be the biggest component, 1.5 billion out of the 2.5 billion that they were expecting from the IMF sources, the World Bank, and cocoa syndicated loan. Now that they can no longer go to the syndicated market to get that 1.5 billion, it means that the stability of the cedi and the entire economy is actually at stake at the moment.